Hey, this is Max Alper, aka Parrotsky, and you are listening to Group Critique Fight Club. Oh yeah. Play me out. Play me out. You have been listening to Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton with the LP, or I guess mixtape, beat tape, Leighton Lagoon, out on Bandcamp. Shout outs to Big Bouis, the homie from grad school. DOE certified, New York City, DOE certified, lower fidelity electronic rhythms. We ain't calling it lo-fi. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome to another edition of Group Critique Fight Club and our March monthly project edition. With us, we have a doozy of a guest facilitator, someone who has worked for decades in the sort of fields of slow, atmospheric, spacious music, both through his his I guess chamber group of years past, Bing Ruth, as well as under his own name and with the ambient country trio Cowboy Sadness, who released a record last year. We have with us today, or maybe 2 years ago, I forget at this point. Time is a flat circle. With us today, we have the illustrious David Moore joining us. David, are you there? He's there.
Yes, I'm here.
He's
Hello.
here. What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
I am doing well. You are calling us from the Big Apple. Yes?
Yes, the Big Apple.
The
It
Big
uh it
Apple.
was very beautiful day
Yes.
today. Not the first, but the second really beautiful day of the season. So everyone was out and happy.
Mm.
And yeah, it's really nice to be here.
I hope there's not going to be another late, like high 20s morning to like 70s afternoon range days that we've been having the last couple weeks. It's been some literal bipolar weather in the
I
New York
know.
tri-state area.
I mean, I'm going a little nuts over here because I bought this winter. I like got an itch on me and I got one of those Osmos synthesizers
Uh-huh.
and I haven't had room to set it up because the cactuses have been inside. Um, so I am just dying to get these things out of here so I can start playing with an MPE.
This is some
Uh,
very specific niche New York City problems,
yes,
where
yes.
one would both have a new synthesizer added to their collection, but also no room because their cactuses have been brought indoors for the winter.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and it's funny, you're living in Manhattan, right?
No, I'm in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay, cool. You're in Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah.
So not that that's like really any quieter at this
Uh,
point, but it's funny. I've always, I thought up until when I met you last year, I thought you were still out in Kansas. I don't know why I had it in my mind because I don't know. Bing and Ruth existed since I was like in college and
hmm.
my brain no work good. I didn't put two and two together, and unfortunately, I never saw it live. So I
Yeah.
always just kind of like knew lore, the more
Y-
lore. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's interesting, and looking back at the song, some of the titles of the Bing and Ruth stuff, it's like, oh yeah, of course, like Broad Channel. That's like listening, like that's some train music when you're in between both ends of Queens, you
Yeah.
know? That's definitely some space out there. Probably as desolate a part of New York as you could get. But for those that don't know, uh, I would love for you, David, to just like give us a little background on like, you know, growing up in Kansas and maybe like because the prompt that we're going to be talking about and listening to people's responses to today is a response to silence and you know space as it stands and I'm a northeastern guy who just likes to romanticize other parts of the country. um so I would love for you to indulge me on how I'd imagine much of the space out there might have had something to do with your interest in slow music and, spatial sound in general.
Yeah, certainly. It was just one of those things that was sort of stumbled into after the fact, like, oh, I wonder, okay, this makes sense,
Right. Wasn't
but I
something you were
think,
conscious of necessarily at the time.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I think what it is like you form, and I've had this conversation with people from like, other parts of the Midwest and like Montana and stuff where it's like when you live every day with a vastness, it like it just kind of does something to you. Like I've been a citizen of New York City for almost 25 years now, and so in a lot of ways, I'm used to just kind of like seeing what's right in front of me. Um, but when you're interacting constantly with this sort of endless and like literally just seeing the horizon all the time,
yeah,
I don't know, it does something to like what you crave, especially when you leave it. Because that's when I really started
right.
exploring that part of myself.
Yeah, I was wondering that because my next question is how long you had lived in New York. So like almost 25 years, and that must have had,
Yeah,
your full, real, like cognizant fully formed brain adult life as a musician.
yeah.
Was this a longing in some ways for that upbringing and that horizon, like sonic horizon? We always think of it as a visual, right? But the idea of like hearing a sound to full decay, to full silence, I feel like your patience in a lot of your work, especially in Grazing the Bell, the latest solo piano work.
Thank you.
There's minimalism, and there's degrees of minimalism, and I don't think you're afraid to like get down to like the singular at times, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way I think of it is like range, and I think of like it's important to define your range. So to me, I really love the bottom of my range, like kissing silence and like just fully embracing it at times and just like having that be a part, just a real part of what's being played
Yeah.
is it's just always been important to me, because that's the other thing with like vastness versus something immediate. Like when you're inside of immediacy, you're getting echoes and feedback and you're getting things bouncing and things from unfamiliar sources, and that's its own trip, and
Mm,
that's really cool too, and the people that explore that. But like when you're dealing with endlessness, it's like silence is your friend because silence has to carry you through, inevitable moments of doubt, grief, whatever. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I mean, it's interesting because you're actually like coming from a lineage at this point of New York City minimalists who were raised on the horizon, starting with Lamont Young, like
Yeah.
starting with, was that in Oklahoma? I forget where he was raised. But
Yeah.
maybe Iowa, but Fields and his fascination with the hum of what are the electrical stations? What are those called? Like the signal boxes.
Hmm.
And in conjunction, or rather in contrast to the like pure silence of what at the time would have been like 1940s Oklahoma or something like that, you know? But at the same time, his work, I mean, his well-tuned piano and things like that, there's some degree of space and silence at certain points, but I've always considered Lamont Young like a very busy, fully saturated at all times sort of sound, especially with Theater of Eternal Music, like the OG mescaline years, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think that in contrast, like I said, there's a range to minimalism that can be fully, drone can be a constant, which is more often the case, but oftentimes we can find it like that contrast of positive to negative space, in this case, sound to silence. I
Hmm.
don't know, like again, I'm romanticizing the plains here, but I've just grown up with that Northeast like constant feedback of reflection, people, things. I've never seen a horizon until I drove through the Midwest for the first time on tour in September. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We don't have that in Hudson Valley. We don't have that in Western Mass. There's still like the civilization nearby. And
Yeah.
like even that to me is like spooky. Oh, we gotta go 5 miles between highway exits. That's a long time. And I'm like, I don't know shit. Like I
I mean,
really
I
don't
remember the
know.
first time I went to New Jersey. I was like, wait, what do you mean we're in a new town? We were just in a town. Because to me, it was like there's 30 minutes between towns of
Yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. So yeah.
That has to influence consciously or subconsciously your relation to like activity, and sonic activity, and feeling the need for there to be you know action and immediate reaction or something like that.
Hmm.
I could only imagine. Again, like I listen to your work and I see your life from afar, and I'm just like trying to piece together, like, composer brain, like, the inspiration for this stuff. But it certainly paints a picture for me as a fan, to think of these spaces. And we like to talk about this a lot in Group Critique Fight Club of like, as put in another prompt when we had Lawrence English on to discuss like speculative soundscape composition, we sort of imagine what video game map does your music take place in? Often we've asked that, in video
Yeah.
game is one way of putting it, just because it's a map that we like to explore and interact with. But I think more so than that, what we're trying to get at is like geography. Where does your
Mhm.
geography stand as far as like, in a speculative score in your head?
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, your sound with Bing and Ruth, and with solo work, and Cowboy Sadness, all to me feel like different parts of America. I don't know. I loved America sucks in a lot of ways, but I feel like
Well, yeah, it's an impossible dream. I'm
it's an
obsessed with
impossible.
America. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
really
what I
am. I
mean.
think I think we are like so fascinating. Um,
Yeah.
I think we're so fascinating because we're insane. I mean, we're just insane. And but because of that, we have the blues and we have jazz and we have like Apple computers and we have like, it's like but we're messy and I don't know. I could just go on all day about this, but like the idea of America, the idea of like like what we represent in like the lore. It's so complicated. There's so much awful stuff, and of course you have to like acknowledge it. But it's like why I lean into the cowboy is, it's like
Yeah,
and maybe
please.
why I don't know, maybe it's why like Wu-Tang lean into like what they did. It was like
Hmm.
even though that's not where they're from, it's like there's something you see it and you see it and you're like, yes, that
Yes.
idea, I want to follow that.
Yeah.
And it's just one of many ideas you could follow. But yes, no, sorry, I'm gonna shut up. But I'm
No, don't shut up.
fascinated
Don't shut
by
up. Preach, please. This is
I'm
what
just
we're here for, man. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm just
it's
we're awful. And but we're also like we just do I worked with a singer like this once and he would just do the most insane stuff and it would cause headaches. He would like jump off the stage at Bonnaroo and there's like no way to get back on. And it's like, dude, what? But then it's like the crowd goes nuts and you're like, man, that was the right thing to do. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about.
America.
So I don't know. Sorry.
It's a land of don't be sorry. It's a land of contrasts that I think that like there's a New York minimalism that has a certain sound, and you're definitely a part of that in the 21st century.
Oh,
In fact, now you're codified in Us versus Them, right? You're in
oh
that new book
yes.
that was about the first 14 years or 2004 to 2014 Brooklyn DIY. And it's I've always considered the like DIY chamber or DIY new music, and North Brooklyn taking on the downtown, inheriting the downtown from lower Manhattan, especially
Yeah.
during those years. And I got in at the tail end, unfortunately never saw Bing and Ruth, but got in on a tail end of that, but noticed this I'm glad that that book is now out, because it did feel like a moment, specifically in this world that we're talking about, of a New York City tradition such as minimalism,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad that you were set, you were bronzed, whatever that show report was. I gotta get the book. But I'm just so
It's
glad to have
yeah.
seen you as one of like four or five instances that were reported on in this book covering this decade of North Brooklyn DIY.
Yeah, it was a wild time and it's wild to read about it, to see my story in the context of everything that was going on around me because like I didn't know half the stuff that was going on around me. It was
Yeah.
like everybody, it was a connected time. It was also a very exclusionary time, and it was
Mm,
like there was a lot of um there was a lot of kind of like this is our zone and that's
mm.
your zone, you know? And so it's really cool to see Ronan Giovanni, who's the author, put out this like really nuanced take
Yeah.
on a complicated time that bred a lot of music that is deeply meaningful to a lot of people. And it's really cool to have been around it. It's cool to
Yeah.
have been a part of it. And it's cool to not be around it and not be a part of it anymore because it
I
was also
mean,
exhausting.
I believe it. I believe it. I got enough taste of it. I mean, like there was a certain point where it felt cool to be a fucking asshole around then. And I feel like now the one positive thing is just like, bro, chill out. Like be normal when you talk to me. Like, like maybe that's me
Yeah.
growing up. But like I felt like moving to Brooklyn in 2009 when I did just like my first shows around there. I'm like, God damn, man, like I gotta put on a facade to talk to these people. The pants aren't tight enough, shit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, it was high school too in a lot of ways, but it was
Exactly.
like the best band. So it was
Yes,
like
I know.
that,
It felt important,
so we were all, it was a cool time because like I moved to New York City in 2004 and which was like right at the end of something. I mean, as the book talks about, it's like right
Yeah.
kind of at the end of something and the beginning of something else. And when I arrived, it was like the scene was like, Tonic and Anthology Film
Hmm.
Archives and like this very downtown sort of thing. And then I was like, man, how am I going to do this? I'm just like this kid from Kansas. And I'm like going to see shows at Tonic and I'm seeing like Instant Composers Pool, like, what's his name? Misha Mangelberg, like play half the set with one one finger more or less. He played half the set. It was the best piano set I'd ever seen. It was like
Wow.
just a tonic in like 2004 or 5 or whatever. And just thinking like, how am I gonna like get up in here? And then it was like a sinkhole opened in Brooklyn. And it was like, oh, weirdos. We're doing weirdos over here now. And it was like, oh, cool. Okay, nice.
Man,
So,
I've just
anyways.
if I was 5 years older, man, I would have fucking torn that shit up. You
Oh man,
know?
if I was 5 years older, I'd have bought a loft in Williamsburg. I'd
Yo,
have
you
bought a
would have, yeah,
building in
we would have, I
Williamsburg.
mean, same,
Jesus Christ.
honestly. It was really accelerated the last 5 years, that whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, man,
crazy.
it's a fascinating time. You make wonderful music, and
Thank
we
you.
have, we have some, oh, this is cool. We got someone in the comments, Terrence, who submitted a work to we'll listen to. He said, can't remember the year, but witnessing Bing and Ruth in a church in North Brooklyn was a beautiful experience. So,
Oh, I
Terrence
remember
beat me.
that.
I don't know which
Uh,
church. I don't know what year. Maybe that's the one in the book. I don't know.
it was right across from the lot radio because I just did a
Oh
set
yeah,
there a couple weeks ago and I looked across the street. I was like, that's the
still there.
church.
Still
Yeah,
there.
still
Yeah.
there. Very
The
cool.
Friars. I think that technically the church owns that lot, which is
Yeah.
why Francois is so in with the Friars there. That's yeah, that's awesome.
Oh.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're the
Oh.
landlords, New York City landlords, the Catholic Church, Um,
Man, fascinating,
lovely.
fascinating bunch, the
Yes.
Catholics. That's for another time, though.
Well, David, I want to get into some music. I'm just gonna refresh everyone's memory and yours, David, in case you didn't see the initial prompt, just what everyone is responding to for our project. So I'll just read off our descriptor here. The title of the piece is Silence plus Solo, and the prompt is one of the biggest symptoms I have noticed with gear acquisition syndrome is the itch we feel to fill the air with as much sound as we can by stacking all the tools in our arsenal on top of one another. As loop and sequence enthusiasts, we often add layer after layer, perhaps to cope with the vulnerability of hearing ourselves only do one thing at a time. We're scared of the horizon, David. We're scared of that sonic horizon. uh, when was the last time you sat in your studio with one instrument without external processing or FX devices and responded to your own definition of silence with this single tool? Do you feel secure enough to strip yourself down sonically to do just one thing? Why not? Every so often, we need to break from this stack of gear in our studios and the hundreds of software instruments and effects we have installed on our computers so we can get back to basics and just remind ourselves that we are still musicians with only two hands, two ears, and one brain. And so this project will do just that. For this monthly project, you are to record yourself responding to your own definition of silence for 5 minutes or less through a single live take performance on a single instrument without overdubs or live effects. Acoustic and electronic instruments are both welcome, but you can only pick one. You are welcome to add channel strip effects such as EQ and compressor or other gain stages as post production, but you can't add or subtract parts. So everything that we're hearing is going to be a single take. And I was a little bit flexible with folks when they were doing electronic live instrumentation. Well, it's like my Eurorack has this effect built into it. Does that make it one instrument? And for that, I said yes,
Hmm.
but I meant more like playing guitar rather than playing guitar plus five pedals,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
things like that. But if I'm using one plugin as my live keyboard sort of instrument, and that plugin has effects. That's technically one instrument, right? If I'm playing the Nord, that has built-in delay and reverb and things like that. So
Hmm.
just to clarify for you, but everyone else knows this. So are you ready, David? We're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
Our first submission is actually the one video submission that we're gonna check out from Elsper, who writes us I kept myself to one Ableton Max for Live device, which is Dylan Baston's concatenative sampler, loaded with four samples, one percussion, one tonal, one synth loop, and one vocal track. I recorded of an X. Okay. Good to know. The audio comes from the sounds around a bird feeder And if the volume threshold is crossed, the sampler does its best to play a snippet of a sound that it thinks is the closest represents. Ah, interesting. So it actually like kind of does a live machine. I don't know if it's machine learning
Cool.
technically, but a live sort of envelope follower slash I don't know, mimicking device. Is that machine learning? I don't know. Dylan Bastion is a cool plugin designer. He makes some cool stuff. And he says the sampler does its best to play a snippet of that sound I think closest represent and loops it at different rates according to the device LFOs. This did not work at all like I wanted, LMAO, but the result is still fascinating. Okay, let's check it out. This is Songbirds. You can see that, right?
Yep.
All right, let's go. Nice.
I love that.
I loved the video component of it too, like when the screen slept and we just saw the reflection of the tree behind it, and then at the very end he reveals himself to press end at the end of the recording. Just a nice little visual touch to it. Not a requirement including the visuals, but I think it was a nice pairing so that we could really see the action and sonic reaction. What are your initial thoughts on the process here? Looking at just from a perspective of generative music, but not your standard sequencer.
Um, well, I'm gonna be honest about something. I don't understand what was happening
Okay,
process
you want me to
wise.
explain? You want me to explain
Yes.
so this sampler is fancy and it can understand the sounds that are coming into it as a way of triggering sounds that are preloaded on it. And so the bird, it has a way of understanding, oh, that's a bird sounding thing. That
Whoa.
sounds waveform most similar to this sample when pitched down to this or pitched up to this thing.
Okay.
So it's like based on the threshold that the envelope follower is generating, when it gets past that threshold surface, it will be like, wind. That sounds kind of like this bassy thing. Let's go play it like that. And then he
Ah,
paired it with the field recording itself very quietly. Yeah, so it says it's spectral mimicry. So it's based
yeah,
on the spectral sort of analysis of the live audio.
yeah.
It mimics it based on one of four samples preloaded into the plugin that Elsper picked, and then it like, pitches it and envelopes it based around that. Does that make
Wow.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, it
That's
does.
some wild shit, right?
I love that. That's like really that really hits exactly what I've been on about like literally this week. Which is birds
Mhm.
and figuring out what the hell what the hell's going on with these guys.
They're dinosaurs, dude.
Yeah, I personally I really love what I heard. I thought the visual was cool. But this I think we're a part of nature, but also there's so much to learn from nature and so much of what feels. I mean, music is a mysterious art, so we don't know what moves us, and there's a lot of like really natural reasons. My belief is like there's a lot of really natural reasons that things move us, and it's like certain sounds, the wind, our
Hmm.
mother's voice, it's like it just kind of it resonates us in different ways. And so hearing things that are not trying to mimic nature, but are actually like an extension of nature and move inside of the same laws of
Mm.
movement that nature does, it's really cool. And anybody exploring that right now is like, it's just really cool. So
Yeah.
I'm, yeah, deeply, deeply appreciative of that piece.
Imagine if Messiaen had access to this plugin, lived long enough to have
Mm,
Ableton and Max for Live, because Olivier Messiaen would compose to the best of his ear, mimicking birdsong in his melody, right?
yeah.
And some of his, like post-romantic or I guess impressionist sort of era stuff. And to me, that he did that, and getting at a more religious, spiritual reasoning as to his, the human spirit's attraction to sounds and nature and stuff like that. But maybe it's a biological thing, and to this extent, I was getting like the term solar punk? You ever heard that? Not cyberpunk, but
No,
solar punk.
no.
Cyberpunk is like the dystopian future, obviously. The urban landscape. And okay, cool. Elsper says Messiaen was the big influence for this idea. There you go.
Cool,
So
cool, cool.
great minds think alike. Cyberpunk is like, nature is dead and like we've embraced the full hellscape of like techno feudalist dystopia, right? And solar punk provides a more utopian vision of the future in which technology can be used as an extension of nature or what the natural
Hmm.
resources that exist, or in a way that feels I don't know, the ethics behind solar panels necessarily and batteries at this point.
Yeah.
But you know, for a utopian vision of the future in which we could use technology as a way to embrace and extend what we love about nature into a more you know, liberatory future. And to me, I this is not using solar panels. It would make it solar punk if the computer was powered by a solar panel. But this felt in ethos with that for me.
Yeah.
You know, which is like an embrace of nature as like I don't need a step sequencer. I got these birds, you know, like I could use
Yeah.
something as simple as bird song as just a way to trigger sequences, you know.
Yes. And it never, and I always try to be really careful when I talk about this because I have weird beliefs on this stuff, but it's like it's kind of always the issue I've had with the drum machine, and a lot of really incredible music has been made with a drum machine. Don't get me wrong.
Got a hot take incoming right now.
Yeah. But it's like that's not it doesn't feel in line with nature's. I don't know. It's I don't want to go too deep into it, but the idea that you're pulling your rhythms out of nature is very cool. I very lo much love that. I've been a little obsessed for a long time with this piece called, do you know God's Chorus of Crickets?
No.
Oh man, it's crazy. I think the guy's name is Jim Wilson, and the legend is that he recorded some crickets and then slowed it down and revealed all of these insane like
Ah, I have heard of this.
yeah,
Yes.
harmonies and stuff. And then like a bunch of people are like that's didn't happen and
Yeah,
you know,
you
it's
added
like
reverb, you put some bandpass filters on that, you know.
yeah, yeah. So there's kind of this controversy and there's like videos debunking it and then things that like are rebunking it and I don't know. It's yeah, it's anyways, we're good.
Elsper said if God wanted things to be quantized, he would have given man a sequencer in the beginning. That's what we're getting at
Yes.
here. The
Yes,
what
it's not quantized. That's what it
quantization.
is.
That's
It's
what
the
you're thinking
click.
about. The
It's the
click, it's the
click.
perfection of things, you know.
It's the click.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
it's the
exactly.
click, you know.
I mean,
So
you know, Milford Graves very famously said, you know, like we were all given we're all given tempo through heartbeat. You know, that was why he was
yeah,
obsessed with using like biomonitors to drum to his biorhythm. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's nothing more or less quantized than, you know, free improvisation, free jazz and things like that. Not to
yeah.
say we can't have beauty with a generative or perfection. Uh,
Totally.
but there's a it's a what we're seeing here is a the is generative unquantized work and in at its most organic, let's say, or found in nature, literally.
Yeah,
It's beautiful. It's beautiful stuff.
yeah.
My one hiccup just from a like production standpoint,
Mhm.
dynamics, whether Elsper wanted to keep us in the more lowercase and, you know, hushed the occasional spike of something here and there, but very much on the restrained end of the dynamics, and wondering if it's as simple as just adjusting the threshold to be triggered at a quieter threshold, like what it would sound like if we had a larger dynamic range. I know it would just be an adjustment on the plugin itself, but for the sake of you know, for the sake of going back and making different versions with this recording, he could do that, you know. We have a loud version versus a quiet version, you know. Just a thought I was thinking about, you know, what the dynamic range could be. But if Elsper's, you know, intent is to match the dynamics of the yard, then he did it, you know. I'm just thinking if we had an intention dynamics or if it was strictly just a process experiment, which he did say nothing went to plan. I'd be curious how he expected it to go.
Yeah, that's what I want
Yeah,
to
Elsper, let
know.
us know. Let us know what your predictions were during the scientific method, and then what your observations ended up being.
Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, moving on. Moving on. We have a track from Rep Mace, who told us I've recorded myself doing a very boring task at work for 5 minutes. Being conscious of the recording helped me not to get distracted from performing the task. Minimal EQ and gain boosting involved. All right. We're going to the office, bro. Now we were in the yard, now we're going to the office. Let's go. Yeah. Performance, baby. David, you thought you were a minimalist.
Acoustic, that's acoustic electronic music.
That was, I mean, here's two things. First, I Breathplay had a very good comment in the chat, which leads to my sort of segue or comment. They wrote, this is making me think about surveillance panopticon that is having a job now. And yes, this had me thinking about repetitive tasks and labor, and specifically reminding me of the work of Phil Niblock. Have you seen any of his his like, films that he's done?
No.
He would go out because he's a true another New York minimalist, but
Mhm.
also working more along the lines of film and tape rather than live instrumentation. And in his films, he would be filming mostly agricultural work. Like there would be installation works of his where it'd be like an hour of just someone like shoveling hay, or just like the spinning of a single sort of like rotary mechanism in a tractor or something like
Mhm.
that. But like the entrancing sort of nature of human labor and repetition, right? And it would be, sonically untouched, just the sounds of repetitive actions, and then sometimes, paired in, quad, like four clips at a time, things like that. Um, this being just a singular take right here, but it tells me a lot about this job, to be honest, in the speed and intensity and sort of like confidence in which, like, yes, do this, yes, do that, yes, do this, yes, do that, you
Yeah.
know? It's ironic because it really is telling us quite a bit. I'm assuming data management. I'm what are we guessing here as far as the work that's being done, you know?
Uh, I, I, is it like a company that like we have a bunch of files and we need you to drag them from the top left to the bottom right?
That's what I'm saying. Like data, like, just meta, like,
Yeah.
like labeling of something into one of five folders, and you confidently know what it is, you know? Um,
But I do but by the end of it, at first I was like, oh man, poor person. Like um but then by the end of it I was imagining it as the softer sound was drawing and the click sound was like throwing a page and he was animating a movie and he was just drawing a cell and throwing it and drawing it and throwing it and I was like I like that.
This is like the fantasies ones has while they're in like solitary confinement, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're hallucinating, David, like this
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
it's just fascinating when we're given this like hyper minimalist and slightly amplified, but not like it's still ambient noise to us. Like this is Chinese water torture in the sense that like if this was in your peripheral, if your coworker was
Yeah.
immediately next to you, I mean, I'm guessing they're working from home. I thought we were going to be hearing the ambient noise of the
Yeah.
office in conjunction with that, but this was true quiet. Um,
But if I was a bird, I probably would have heard the last one the same way. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, it's still nature sounds. It's just what we did to ourselves. So,
This is what humans did by choice. We could be eating berries and
I
running through the
know,
field right now, man, and we're
I
clicking
know, I
away
know,
instead.
I know.
We're
And
labeling this
that's not a
data.
value judgment. I mean,
I know.
I have a pizza sitting upstairs, and I'm down here staring at a screen. So,
Yeah. Yeah, but we're listening to the sounds of
we are
solo plus silence,
exactly,
or silence plus solo. Um,
exactly.
yeah, for Rep Mace, if you haven't checked out the work of Phil Niblock, I was gonna say David Niblock. I'm getting my people mixed up. Of Phil Niblock, and specifically the film works and tape collages that he's made. Highly recommend. But he's a true New York legend, Intermedia Arts in Tribeca, I think that's where his loft venue
I think so.
still exists. I heard he got like in on the loft laws, like he paid like $5 a month for that place or something like that,
So
some
sick.
wild shit. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating sort of, I don't know, connection that I made in my mind because it actually fits right in with the subject material that he would cover.
Mm.
And for those wondering, like, yes, this is still it's still considered music, it's like whether, sound art is one thing, but I'm still hearing this as performance, and it's actually quite theatrical in that way. It tells us a lot uh based on very little material here. Um, I told you we were going to have some interesting submissions, David.
I like it, and it was also after all that Kansas talk, it like gave me a funny feeling because like this is like this is the kind of shit that I both love. Like I loved listening to that. But it's also the kind of stuff that like my boys in Kansas just dog me about so hard.
What are you doing, city
You're
boy?
up there in Brooklyn just listening to people click a mouse and thinking it's profound. And I'm like, well, it is. So, fuck off.
Yeah, that is fascinating because there's not, I'm assuming, too many experimental composers from your high school in your small town. I
Not a
might be
lot.
wrong. I might be wrong. But
Coleman Hawkins went to my high school.
oh, there you go. There you go. See, I'm being judgmental. See, I'm just being a dumb Yankee, coastal elite over
Coastal
here.
Elite. Yeah.
Exactly. Clicking away on my mouse, calling it profound. Shout outs to the
Yeah.
homies in Kansas.
Yeah.
They continue dogging David.
They love that new Sturgill album.
Oh, hey.
They love it.
Hey
I
man,
do
he
too. It's
he
great.
came
He's
out as
great.
woke, so it's fine, you know? He did.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
he literally did. He was just like, you guys don't understand country, man, if you think that this shit is all just like Fox News and Bud Light,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
coming from the Willie Nelson tradition on this
I
side.
love that.
Yeah, man, true outlaw shit.
He's like
Really.
my hero. He's like one of my favorite working artists today. I mean, I know it sounded like I was making fun of him, but he's actually like,
No,
I think he's just one of the greats, and
hey
we're
man,
lucky to
this
have him.
true heritage of yours right here, unlike the people in like Suffolk County, Long Island, who just, I bought a truck and I listen to country. you
Yeah.
know Come on, man.
Yeah, they're having their own, we all pick and choose our fantasies, so
That's right. The tri-state area Republican LARP, the NYPD guy who got his pension at age 40 and moved and bought a farm and a truck where I live. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know.
Now I'm
Yeah,
just
we
a
got
simple man. Oh
yeah,
man, juxtapositions. We got contradictions everywhere, dude.
I love it.
All right. New track coming at you from Jesse. Um, They wrote, here's my submission named after the dimensions in my home studio. It's 8.5 by 10.5 is the piece. Um, I chose to go downright skeletal for this one. The silence I responded to was the environment of my studio, a tight, untreated room, which has been my most private spot for years. I recorded this with a Zoom H2 to pick up the room sound and my breathing and shuffling. I wanted to go back to my earliest days of learning synthesizers. I have fond memories of navel gazing, letting oscillators drone on and getting absorbed by tiny changes. I patched a very simple voice in Eurorack. Sound is from an additive oscillator left unfiltered and raw, and it selects a random waveform every time the sound starts. This goes through an echo, which was noisy at the time, but it fits. I reduced control to just four things: fine tuning the oscillator, the rate of echo, and the looping envelope, the fader for the envelope, and a manual fader for the VCA. All planned and recorded in an afternoon with some EQ and compression in post. This has some execution problems as well as occasional clipping of the Zoom mic, but it was my favorite take out of many. All right. Some room tone, no DI allowed, room tone recording of a studio performance. Let's get to it. Nice. Very nice work from Jesse.
Oh yeah.
This is like, I think a very nice, makes a good pair with the Songbirds example of this being the most it's quantized music, you know what I mean? Like this is like we can understand the process after a couple repetitions going through, but at the same time it has the evenness to it. I don't know. The term ma in Japanese aesthetic to describe like negative space. It's yin and yang,
Mm.
sort of way here. Um, I don't know. It feels very appropriate to hear as if they're synthetic ocean waves being timed perfectly, like ebbing and flowing. Um, I don't know. I'm captivated by this, although I know we're only listening to it for 5 minutes or less. I don't know. How do you feel about this idea as an installation rather than a one-off short composition? I felt like it needed to be like sat in, like as if I'm at Dreamhouse.
Yeah. I have a question. Was this performed or was this like a process?
This was performed in the sense that the sequencer, it's happening live in the room. The Eurorack is
Yes.
pressing play on a sequencer set to a set clock, the clock,
Okay.
the click,
Got
that's
it.
triggering the process here.
Okay,
But that there
cool.
were a few elements that were being, uh, navigated by hand, but every time the clock re-triggered the sequence, the wave shape would change to something else. That was
Oh,
also an
got it.
automated process. But
Okay,
the tail of the envelope and the amplitude of the VCA itself, those things were adjusted by hand, it seemed. But for the
cool.
most part, everything was set in place, generative, fully quantized in that
Nice.
clock.
Well, I really liked the variations and it felt very almost marimba, almost forgive me, but like ringtone kind
Mm.
of.
Like
Um
traditional, like the original
yeah,
iPhone.
yeah, 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 like the original. Um yeah, it's very cool. I don't know very much about Eurorack at all, so I don't feel super confident commenting on process, but I don't think you should have to know about process to comment on what you're hearing. And what I'm hearing had a really nice variation. I would have loved to hear even a little more silence. It felt like the silence that was in there they were sort of nods
Mm,
to it,
mm.
as opposed to it being like a really a part of it. But I thought it was really cool. But I do agree too, like an installation sort of context, I think would make a lot of sense for it.
I'm imagining this rather than a shape being like a pyramid, like straight up and then straight down and then immediately straight up again, and as this sort of a shape of this, more of a trapezoid where it goes up and it stays up for a little bit and then it goes down and it stays down for a little bit. Like
Hmm.
I agree that we only had decay to the sound to nothing, but then it immediately rose back up rather than
Hmm.
staying there, especially pairing this with the room tone, although it was very quiet. Like Jesse should have opened a window, had some nice little like even more prominent outside noise to work with here.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think that like ironically it could be even more patient. Um,
Hmm.
we could slow down the clock, but also change the shape of the actual slope. So we do have time in silence, to sit
Yeah.
there,
I'm seeing the chat. Percussive hits were quantized, but fading the sound. Okay, cool. It felt manual. It did feel imperfect in that way, and I really dug that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was like, and it has that very, again, that natural feel of like the ocean wave coming in and out, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm saying. But even the
yeah.
the idea I had mentioned of having this installed being that like there's a randomization occurring every time it triggers the sequence again for the
Hmm.
waveform, right? So technically we could have like endless combos of that depending on how long we wanted to sit in the room with it. So we only had
Hmm.
4.5 minutes here, but like imagine this slower for 15 minutes, like what we could possibly hear as far as waveforms and patterns out of that. This is the type of thing, ironically, that like a lot of what Phil Niblock would do from his like more tonal drone works. It's reminded me of that too, where it's just him with two faders for an hour, slightly changing the amplitude of things, just kind of playing in motion. Ironically, in his later years, he would be caught falling asleep on stage doing that exact practice. But more power to you in your late 80s doing that, riding faders for your drone music.
I'm just, yeah, go for it. That's amazing.
I'm into it. I'm into it. Jesse, let's
Yeah.
hear a slower, let's chop and screw this even further. Let's put this in a coat of molasses and make it
Yeah.
run. Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. Beautiful stuff.
Continuing on, we have Breath Play. Breath Play has written the quote, silence is two stereo line inputs with no signal except electrical interference. One is outlet noise through my hardware setup, powered on but inactive except for a passive vocoder filter for a little bit of color. So vocoder filtering line noise. Um, the other is battery noise from a $20 cassette player they keep in the old people electronics aisle at Walmart, powered on but with volume at zero, a different type of line noise. The instrument is the gain knobs for the four input channels of the SSL interface that it's recording on. I want to continue polishing this piece, chiefly to dial in a mix that's presented while also being as soft and roomy as possible, where the hiss is a caress rather than a wall. Poetry. Poetry. This is an ode to line noise. Ironically, this title of the piece is called Idiots. Let's go. Nice. Entrancing.
Oh
Beautiful
yeah.
work.
Oh
Beautiful
yeah.
work from Breath Play. Oh man. It's so fascinating the extent in which you can get even the most like crude type of signal noise. It's not even white noise, like pure white noise. It's literal like line hum, buzz, cable buzz, or 60 hertz buzz coming from the power outlet, you know. Not at all a refined source of noise. It's just so funny that you could still get such, I don't want to say organic nature. We've already been harping on that for a while, but like, found in the wild, sort of like as if it's doing the same process that the songbirds thing was doing, but in this case, uh through a buzz meant to represent, I don't know, wind, water, cicadas. Like I was just piecing in my mind, like, oh, this sounds like this sounds like that, and people always tell me that noise music is some of the most alienating, some of the most alienating and off-putting sort of stuff. But I rebut with examples such as these, noise doesn't need to be harsh in order for it to still be noise, and I think this is a great example of the extent in which we can actually make it pleasing.
Yeah, it was very nice to listen to. It
Yeah.
was obviously, yeah, a lot of ocean sort of sounds. It also reminded me a lot of the sound design in particularly the new season of Twin Peaks, the return.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of like using electrical sounds in this very
Mm.
sort of ASMR organic-y kind of
Hmm.
way. So that was just, yeah, very cool. I love remixing kind of unintended consequences,
Yeah.
and creating something new. Very, yeah, very, I mean, you said it best, entrancing, it's like just,
Yeah.
yeah, very, very natural.
Have you heard the subgenre descriptor ambient noise wall?
No.
You've heard harsh noise wall? You've heard that descriptor?
Yes.
The Rita and Vomir, the
Okay.
guy that stands with just a plastic bag on his head and does nothing but let the wall just be static, literal static for an hour straight. That's
Yes.
it's harsh, and it can be when home listening environments turn down to be
Yeah.
less harsh, but I think it's meant to be delivered at pummeling volume. So to contrast that, some folks coin the term ambient noise wall, which might have more to do with lowercase music
Mhm.
and things like that. But the takeaway is the wall is still constant. There is no room for lack of activity here. It is no void. There's no space for movement. It is a constant. And, you know, it's fun to think about in minimalism, this, like we've talked about, the minimalists that like to saturate and have the drone continuous versus those that want there to be breath.
Mm.
This somehow ended up being both. The wall was constant, but there was, you know, ebbing and flowing occurring that made it still feel found in some way rather than just strictly generated from the wall, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Movement,
Yeah,
it's, yeah, very, yeah, very cool. I mean, I don't know. I love stuff like that. And it
yeah.
just felt, I mean, the other thing I just want to mention is that like process, process is cool and it's important to talk about. Um, But I try to approach when I'm listening to something that I'm like listening to it away from the process that created it. And there's some things that you can't really get away, and there's some things where the process is the point. But each of these I'm trying to listen to from the point of view of like, how does this land as a piece of sound to listen to?
Hmm.
And yeah, Bangers, all of them so far.
Bangers.
So
I like that. I like that idea though of like the responsibility as listener is to like you're not supposed to be wearing your composer hat at all times, where you're being analytical. And sometimes, even if it's hard not to immediately draw a conclusion as to how something was made,
Mhm.
but to still, try to approach it's objective from a listener's perspective, as to like where does it take you without you having to think about it, which I think was nice here. There wasn't an obvious at times there was buzz for sure that felt electrical, but
Mhm.
my brain immediately thought of cicadas and insect life rather than electricity.
Exactly.
That's where my brain led. And same with the more white noise sort of sound. I've always been obsessed with the oceanic qualities of bright noise on its own. But I think it's the LFO, it's the amplitude, it's the ebbing and flowing that makes it distinctly that rather than just the literal static.
It reminded me when I was in high school, my I found a couple keyboards in the closet and my teacher let me take them home and one of them was this early ARP synthesizer and the only
Ooh, lucky.
fader that the only fader that worked on it was the noise fader.
Mm,
So the only thing you could do was create noise at different volumes. And
interesting.
I just remember being just a little young buck, just yeah, doing pieces just like this is like very so that was
Amazing.
also nostalgic to me
That's
in that
so
way. So
formative. I could imagine that.
yeah, yeah,
And it's full circle because, yeah, I mean, Breathplay said Lynch was obsessed with power line hums for his entire career. So
yeah,
good, good, good ear for that. And also, like I said, Lamont Young and the signal boxes, in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere, this juxtaposition of air versus energy, right? Literal, this is the sound of literal energy that we've somehow managed to package. It's crazy. Um, and yet that's what all electronic music is at the end of the day, just a bunch of voltage being broadcast through other electrical devices.
it's wild.
It's wild, bro. That's facts.
It's
Thank you.
crazy.
Thank you, Breath Play.
Thank you.
I do want to hear more expansions on that Breath Play. Get to work. All right, we got something from Terrence. They wrote for this month's project, I recorded some acoustic guitar. Ba-boom. I was expecting to get a bit more noise from the room itself because something in there resonates when I whistle or speak within a certain range of pitches, but I couldn't seem to excite the same resonance using the guitar. That said, I was still pretty happy with how the guitar sounded. In post, I used a de-esser to lessen the harsh squeakiness of my fingers sliding on the strings and added a light touch of compression. Bonus, if you listen closely at the end of the take, you can hear my wife arrive home and exclaim at the cookies I made. Yo, I love that. Getting a full picture. Where are my cookies, Terrence? Where's mine? No one thinks about me. All right, let's go. Oh, that's so sweet.
God, I love that.
Love that. Very nice. This is what I'm getting at here is the like feeling secure with oneself, with just an instrument, your instrument of choice in a room with nothing else going on. And, like what better place to get that sort of security than just like at home in your room, set the mic up across the room and just kind of hear yourself here. Terrence clearly has a voice as a guitarist here. I've heard some of his guitar work before and the open tuning, finger picking variety. Um, it's nice to hear this in the literal ambient sense, as if I'm sitting in the room with them rather than, at first I was thinking, man, it'd be really nice if we had this up close, like a couple condenser mics in stereo, like real intimacy of the instrument itself. But to me, it's like with this project, thinking about responding to the room, I would think in principle it'd be nice to just be there as if I was just hearing this, and I felt that we were there. It's a nice little portrait, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it really,
vulnerable.
yeah, it was really nice. I like that you left the last bit in.
Hmm.
And that's something I want to mention about all these. There's elements of humor in them, which is like so important in all of
Totally.
this.
Totally.
But I do just want to speak on something real quick about obviously this is kind of the most like traditional solo,
Hmm.
thing, like instrumental thing we've listened to, and I really liked it's very dangerous with solo acoustic guitar music because the line where things get cheesy is like pretty small, and the area behind the line where everything is really cheesy is vast.
Mm.
So to find your own zone in front of that line where it feels real and vulnerable, but without feeling like cheesy and generic. It's a hard, even though it's like an easy instrument to like sound good, you put it in an open tuning and literally just go ring and it sound good, but what is challenging about it is finding that space that's your own and where you sound unique and genuine. And you've done that here. It's really nice to hear, and it's not a place that everybody gets to. So congratulations.
Boom. And I know Terrence was the one who saw the show in the church. So
Oh,
I'm
sick.
sure, I'm sure, as we say in Yiddish, he's kvelling right now. I'm sure he's stoked. I'm sure he's stoked to hear that feedback from you.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very
and
cool. Yeah, very
yeah,
cool.
yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we got at least one solo acoustic instrument in this. I didn't want to lay down the hammer and limit folks to like completely outside of their comfort zone if they feel that electronic instruments are where they thrive. I didn't want to stop them. But it's good to see some folks feeling vulnerable, embracing the vulnerability and opening up their house to us in this sense.
Yeah.
Um, he said, amazing to hear those words. Thank you, David. Totally on the same page about
Mm,
including humor. It's the human stuff of living. That's right.
absolutely.
That's
That's it.
right. We don't need any more humorless experimental musicians out there. We need to be, we don't need to be putting on this machismo or this just flat-faced uh, you know, no expression required in your human day-to-day interactions because the music does all the work. No.
Yeah.
Let's get some lightness in there. Let's get some lighthearted, some brevity, you
Oh
know. We must defeat anti-cringe thinking. Yes. I
yeah.
agree. I agree. People are raised in the panopticon right now and they're worried that if they do something humorous or sincere, genuine or vulnerable that they're going to be judged for it because this is, it's a fucking bummer. But Just reject that thinking, y'all. Any
Yeah.
young people here, any Zoomers in the chat, just say no. Say fuck you.
Can I say something about that real
Yeah,
quick?
you
That
can.
I just want to share. I have my best friend in the whole world. He's the bass player in Bing Ruth actually,
Nice.
and his life is like really amazing, and he's just like the happiest person I've ever met. And I one day I was like looking at him, I was like, how did he get like this? Because I spent a lot of my life like just miserable, you know. And I noticed this small thing about him that he always did was that he always made the joke, you know, and like 9 times out of 10 it didn't land, or like the person wasn't, with it, but he always made it. And that's just how he treated life. It was like, and it still is, he's still my best friend, he's still around, and but I picked that up from him and I was like, oh, well, just say it. I mean, what's the worst going to happen? They're not going to like
Exactly.
it. And I just started living like that, not just with humor, but with like the music I make and the stories that I tell. And it's just like, they're not all going to hit. But if you approach things from a place of like, I'm just going to be me, the stuff that hits is going to hit so hard.
Yo,
So, yeah.
bars. Just say the joke, y'all. Come
Just
on.
say the joke.
Just
Just
say the
say it.
joke.
Because it might
Beautiful.
kill. It
It
might
might
kill.
kill. Yo, write that down, everybody. Quote that, David
Yeah,
Moore. There
exactly.
you go. Just say the joke. Thank you, Terrence. Wonderful piece. Okay, now for something completely different.
All right.
We got a track from Voil Masker. They wrote no input mixing with the Chord Chaos Pad Mini and creating a feedback loop through my mixer. So the noise table as the instrument.
Cool.
I had the Chaos Pad set to program 44, which, according to a list I found online, is a step phaser combined with a frequency resonance effect. The output was either extremely loud or barely audible. I turned it into kind of a game. I tried to move my finger across the pad from left to right without setting off the high volume signal. If it triggered, I had to start over. The spots on the pad that caused the volume to spike kept shifting unpredictably. Ooh, game piece. We're getting Zornian, but also no input noise. Love this. All right.
Sick.
We got the track. It's called Tinnitus. All right. Hopefully not, you know, eyes on the volume fader of your own devices. I'll say that. I don't know. Let's see. Brutal. Yo, tapping into
Crazy.
that inner ear distortion. I told y'all to turn it down. I didn't know to what extent. For me it was about 70% less volume than the previous one on my end. Yo, Marianne Amiche. You know, were you familiar with Marianne, David?
No.
Marianne Amiche, another New York great, who we can't technically call her noise because she worked on a biological level with the sensation of tinnitus and inner ear
Mm.
distortion. Like she was getting into it as like an audiologist for evil. It was certainly if you went in with earplugs at the concerts, you could still experience these sensations without feeling ill.
Yeah.
But she would make works in which she would explore these sensations of the the what's happening inside the cochlear area of your skull, and this brought me there. When I brought it down to a reasonable volume, that's my only real critique here. I understand what's going on here. Well, I guess there's two critiques here. One is like, for the sake of home listening, we should present this at a more normalized level, let's say, because this is a weapon. Volumasker says, "Thank God my tinnitus is only stress induced and not constant." Well, hopefully you're not. Were you stressed out when you were making this?
Yeah, this is some Waco shit.
It's some way.
Um uh no, I actually it's funny, I had this like at first I was like, oh no, what is this? But then I fell into this really weird trance with it. And I think because the dubba 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 bit
Yeah, the pulse.
it reminds me a lot of I don't know if you're familiar with the Gateway Voyage, it's the binaural beat meditation tapes, Robert
Oh
Monroe.
wow.
The opening of all of those tapes is that sound, and I felt like I was like setting off to do one of those, and but like everything got like remixed and I went down the wrong tube, and like I just got sent into the world of crazy. Very
Yo,
cool, very cool.
amazing.
But I
My
like pieces like that, so
I mean, I think my only from a compositional form was the pulse to me got a little stale about halfway because it was constant, and if there was a way from just like what's triggering the threshold of actually peaking was where I was getting like really captivated, was just like waiting for the next jump scare to occur. It was, especially seeing this live, I think would have been very interesting, watching the finger be dragged across the chaos pad slowly. But to me, if we could find a way to gate out the constant pulsing, for there to be more, I don't know. I really wanted there to be true silence so I could sit with this tinnitus sort of sensation completely isolated, you know? Which is why, if there was a way to cut out the constant pulsing, for it to occur sometimes, but not at a constant, so I could experience like nothing, true silence from a digital audio perspective. That'd be my only request here, is to like let us truly hear 0 to 100, or in this case 110. Um, yeah, that was just my only thought with that. But Voyomasker, if you haven't checked out Marianne Amiche, please do. There are plenty of documentaries and or rather interviews and performances with her that you can find. She passed away about a decade ago. Um, and also someone had mentioned Ryoji Akita in here. You familiar with Ryoji at all, David?
no,
Ryoji?
you know so many people,
Nah,
man.
man. I mean, this is what I do. I've been teaching. I gotta keep
Yeah,
an ear out for all this shit.
it's
Ryoji,
really inspiring,
I mean,
honestly.
thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to hear that from you. The Ryoji Akita is awesome because he's like part of the. I guess you can call it IDM sort of wave, but taking it to an extreme where it's no longer glitch like Aphex Twin glitch break beats. It's the glitch of literal bits of audio. So like
Mm.
a sample rate, like 44.1 thousand per second. You could hear one of those as just a right, a little
Yeah.
bip of audio, and he'll take that and granulate and create these like can only be described as like hyper digital works for sound, but also video as well. Um, and so it's like taking like a bit crusher and it's like you're hearing it only at like 1x resolution. Now let's hear it at like 0.0001x resolution. We're
Whoa.
zooming in on the digital audio artifacts themselves. And you end up with some really harsh timbres such as this, as you can imagine.
Yeah, jeez.
But if I allowed for more post production to be and creative liberties to be done in post with this, I would love to hear this through like the dub delay. Like one element of analog, just like tape echo underneath this. That would be my one thing. But remix, someone could do it. Good stuff.
I love
Everybody,
that.
let's all be kind to our ears and not listen to that at full blast if you are to go back to it later. Because I am going to post this playlist and I'll send it to you, David, as well for your records
Cool.
afterward.
Thank you.
All right, we have two more. Are you cool on time? You're cool for two more?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Cool. Amazing. Thank you so much for sticking with us, dude.
Yeah, of
I
course.
don't like holding people hostage, but I love listening with
No.
folks.
No, you're
Okay,
good.
we got a track from Mikita, and they've written to us, "The silence is the soundscape of a relatively quiet corner by a forest pond in the neighborhood. It's what I hear when I take off my headphones and cut the flow of information I'm usually consuming through them. It's also me trying and failing to be as still and quiet as possible and not interfere with the recording and not scare off a couple swans and some ducks hanging around very close. The instrument is the EQ and stereo delay mapped to four sliders on a MIDI controller. I listen to the sounds of the silence and use the instrument to catch, amplify, and multiply them in real time. So we're doing a live dub of field recordings. That's what we got. All right, let's get into it with the track titled Silence Multiplied. Oh yeah. Inject that shit into my fucking veins, bro.
Oh
This
yeah.
is what I'm talking about. Simple. Simple. You know, I felt the hand touch to this. You know what I mean? Like just that finding the rhythm through even the delay time itself, you know, and deciding like when to emphasize that versus when to let it ride back and allow for more of the less processed, less delayed sort of field recording take the reins there. Um, I don't know. This is the type of work. Like, does this count as ambient noise wall? You know, like is this I don't know if this gets put under lowercase noise, strictly field recording, process field recording.
Hmm.
Certainly music. This is music to my ears, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me of my walk through Greenwood Cemetery earlier.
Hmm.
It was very much like that. And I really like the delay and the EQing was like really tasteful as well. Because it can be easy to be really heavy-handed with that stuff. And it kind of had the effect of like, when you take like a little bit of acid, not like a lot of acid, but just like a little bit of
For
acid, and it's
sure,
like
for
the
sure.
edges start to melt. It
Yes.
was
Things are
kind of like
breathing a
that.
little bit. Just a
Yeah.
slight artificiality. Everything has a little wiggle to it.
Yeah, so it's the real world, but it's just like kind
Yes.
of vibrating like this. It
Bro, that's
reminded me
that's
of
the
that.
that's the chi. You're seeing the chi, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything got a
exactly.
little wiggle to it, right? All things of vibration is everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
They were on Timothy Leary onto something there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, no, I
Absolutely.
I I 100% that this is absolutely like a an analogous to a light hallucinatory or hallucinogenic experience, right? From the auditory sense as well, where it's
Yeah.
like 95% familiarity, but
Hmm.
but not just the feedback, you know, but it was a tasteful amount, like you said.
Yeah.
Question that someone had asked. I don't know if Makita's in Europe, so they might be in bed. But the asking if they were using bandpass filters before the delay, this is giving me ideas, and which I would say whether or not they did do that, yes, that's a great idea. Filtering noise through bandpass filters, you start to find pitches where there were initially seemingly none. You know, a great way to find real music. Oh, but Nikita's here. No filters. Nope. Just the delay and the EQ. But I guess Nikita, answer for me. How wide were your EQ slopes, or how narrow were they? Because you could create a bandpass through an EQ. Um, I didn't hear anything drastic, which I think that's what you were commenting on. It's like a tasteful amount of EQ, just the right amount of enhancing without taking too many I guess creative liberties in that way. But that would be a fun thing for those wondering. Bandpass filter uh, over field recording is a wonderful, wonderful combo. Or bandpass filter through any found noises. Um, Good stuff. Well, I just want to get to the last one before we hit the top of the hour, because then I'll turn into a pumpkin. Um, David, it's been a pleasure having you on and hearing your thoughts on these works. And I know everybody here really appreciates you taking the time to listen in and give feedback. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
thanks for having me.
of course, man. You know, I really I wanted you on. I wanted to think of a project that I think would suit your fancy and taste as a man from the Great Plains, but also as a minimalist composer who's patient and no stranger to silence and decay of sound. Let's hear the last one coming in from Bryson, who wrote to us. Piece made as part of some experiments I was doing where I would take some pre-existing material, add like negative 100 dB of gain. Okay, a massive scoop out, export with extremely low bit rate, then take that exported file and restore it to Unity, basically exploring the digital distortion you get from compressing near silent material. Named Travis because it reminded me of that monkey who ripped that woman's face off. Oh my God. Jesus. All right. All
Uh,
right. Setting us up for Travis. This is a good it's a good way to go out. Let's go with our faces ripped off. We have a lot of explorations of this hyper digitalism going on today.
yes.
We were going into the computer, we were going into the audio file, you know?
Yeah.
Felt like we were opening up the hood of a wave file.
Yeah, it reminds me, I was in Mexico City last week and they were showing Interstellar at my hotel on the TV and it was something was wrong with the signal and it was totally breaking apart. So all the colors were like blocky and fitting together weird. And it was just like, it was kind of the first time I ever stepped inside of what I would think of as digital decay and been like,
Mm,
man, there's something here. So hearing this right now is definitely very cool and definitely where my head's been at.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I love the process as well. It's just,
Corrupted audio in the most like in the box digital sense. Um,
yeah.
here's another name drop for you, which I've done many times for a few folks who have experimented with this sort of corrupting audio. But Yasunao Tone, Japanese sound artist,
Mm-mm.
Yasunao Tone. He has a series called like Wounded CD, Wounded MP3, maybe Wounded Laserdisc, I'm not sure, but he quite literally would corrupt the data of a CD on one of those early CD decks that it wouldn't, the anti-skip mechanism wouldn't stop it
Mm.
playback.
Hmm.
It would continue until you told it to stop. Parsky said this is one of the Parents Keep bingo card spaces. Is me name dropping Yasunao Tone. Exactly.
Uh,
Heads no.
wait,
um
is that's not the person who did the Because somebody did the I am sitting in a room, but they did it with YouTube uploads.
No, 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 no,
Okay,
no.
okay.
But is a similar, I would say, sound world of process music, right?
Yeah.
Electroacoustic process music. But Yasunao Tone was strictly about corrupting digital audio mediums and
Cool.
finding those artifacts in between. And oftentimes it has this screeching quality to it. In this case, a chimpanzee screeching face melting. I didn't think it was as violent as described here in the preface to it. I was finding myself once again thinking about insects, like my where what noise can I where can I find this in the wild, And my immediate thought is to go from digital to the physical realm somehow, physical modeling in my brain. Um, so I don't know if I would necessarily say screeching chimpanzee, but certainly bright and at times jarring. But this is a pretty raw recording. I think they wanted us to hear this sort of stretching of corrupted media that was
Sound like a
once silence.
rainforest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a richness to that that I think is valid and worth exploring um, in short doses. I think we swarms of wasps is what Jesse said. Always sound
Hmm.
like that to me. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, no. What noise? Where could you find this noise in the world? It's something to think about. Maria Chavez has also done something like this. I'm not sure. Did they? We got to go back to the tape. Maria was also a guest on this.
Nice.
I'm sure she had working with pre-recorded sounds. Um, Less so in the digital sense. Hers is more analog. But yeah, Bryson, if you haven't heard Yaso Now Tone, everybody go check him out. Uh, Time stretch CD skips. Ah, yes. Okay, cool. So that's what Maria had worked with as well. Yeah, I mean, you can get a lot from the stretching. Um,
Can I ask a
Absolutely.
question to you and to everybody?
Yeah.
What's everybody using for time stretching these days?
Interesting. I use a granular sampler like plugin called Spacecraft.
Spacecraft.
I use
Okay.
that on both my iPad as a live performance mechanism because I could kind of finger paint across the waveform in swoops, which is very nice.
Oh,
But it's
cool.
also a plugin for any DAW. Um, and I also just use Logic and Pro Tools, and they have the ability to just like change the
Yeah.
time, like manually decide, oh, this is a 2 second recording. I will input make 20 seconds and it will do that.
Yeah,
It does
yeah,
the
yeah.
rendering for me. What is
Okay.
everybody else using? Shout outs in the chat. Breath plays
Ableton's.
that you could get pretty weird with Ableton time steps
Okay.
options. They have that built in, I
Cool.
believe. Yeah, I'd be curious about that. What do you use, David?
Well, I don't know. I was because I was doing some stuff where I was but just experimenting and I wanted to try slowing down some recordings of birds actually.
Hmm.
And so I started with Isotope and it was just so I mean it's Isotope, so it was like so complicated. And a lot of granular stuff, but I didn't really like how it came out. I didn't really like how the Pro Tools one came out. I tried using this one called Paul
Yeah, Paul
Stretch.
Stretch is a classic. Yeah.
And I thought it was cool, but I thought it was maybe editorializing a little too much.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure, so I was just curious if there's like just what folks are using. Um,
God forbid you make art with your sounds, editorializing here your
yeah,
bird song. We got to
yeah.
respect the birds,
We gotta respect the bird. Well, no, I don't have a problem editorializing, but I want to be the one to editorialize.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
I got you.
So,
Rather than the
but I
the
don't,
plugin,
but
the
I don't
plugin takes
know.
some liberties for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's that classic Paul Stretch example. Remember the like viral Justin Bieber 800% slower SoundCloud track that
Yes.
went viral like 15 years
Yeah.
ago?
Or the Beethoven, someone
Mm,
did Beethoven 9 as a 24-hour piece,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it sounds amazing.
But
So,
that's not just time stretching because the slower you get, the more you're going to end up with digital audio with
yeah.
this sound, with the buzz saw. you know? So you gotta
Yeah.
like with that Justin Bieber one, there was so much filtering and delay and reverb added afterwards. It
Yeah.
wasn't just granular stretching involved, you
Okay.
know?
Okay.
Yeah, but Paul Stretch has the editorializing as it does smooth out those those square waves that eventually come out
Yeah.
of the bits of audio. That's the built-in sort of effect to that. But then you still gotta add some time-based effects to that to really make that lush, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
There's a lot to that.
Yeah.
Jesse says he uses Reaper's built-in time stretch abilities. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I mean Reaper's got some good stuff
Whoa.
there. Um, Jurassic Park 800% slower was great.
1-800 dinosaur.
I don't even know that one. Yeah. I did one with All I Want for Christmas Is You. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, now, David, you have to submit a track. We want to hear your time stretch. We want to hear your
Yeah.
birds.
Yeah. Okay.
Should have set you up.
I
Oh
know.
man. Good stuff. Thanks to
Yeah.
everybody for submitting, and David,
Yeah.
thanks
Thank
again
you.
for hanging out. It's been such a pleasure having you on. I know everybody was super stoked. Um, and yeah, I'll send you these tracks once I have everything uploaded in public online.
Dope.
Thanks again, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks to everybody. Really cool thing y'all got going here.
Yeah, man. We try.
Yeah.
We try. This is going on 6 years of Group Critique Fight Club, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Various iterations of it, but connecting 6 continents of
Yeah.
people.
Wow.
It's a real fun thing. One man
Well, it's
conservatory.
it's always really special to be in a space with a lot of other people that think that listening to this stuff is cool.
That's
So,
right. That's
thank
right.
you.
You're out there. You are not alone, freaks, freaks of
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
Come one,
You're
come all.
loved.
All right, y'all. Everybody go to bed. Everybody go eat dinner and go to bed. You too, David. I
All
will
right.
talk to you very soon.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Peace out, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of Group Critique Fight Club with me, Max Alper, aka Parrotsky. You can sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/Parrotsky to get access to our Sunday Zoom school on top of the regular live public stream. Public stream takes place every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. All are welcome. And you are listening to the track Atop Alp Dog Mountain, Ja Plays Pokemon Go by me.